The Central Valley, vast by any measure, 450 miles long, 6 million acres of irrigated cropland, more than 200 cities and towns, over 2 million inhabitants.
Equally vast are the water supply systems that supply the regional population and food production ecosystem. An elaborate network of more than 1,000 miles of rivers, streams, canals convey water from north to south and east to west.
Deep wells tap extensive underground reservoirs or aquifers to supplement surface water supplies. Human activity in the Central Valley over the last 200 years has led to substantial impacts to these valuable water sources.
Drinking water wells in some regions contaminated with nitrate. Salt levels so high that fruit and vegetable crops can't be grown in some regions.
Government and industry both recognize that changes needed to be made in how these valuable resources are being managed.
Equally important, creating solutions that preserve the agricultural-based economy of the Central Valley, an economy that supports families and produces food for California, the U.S., and the world.
Without Central Valley food production, the U.S. would be even more dependent on foreign imports to keep our country fed, and food prices would be even higher. In 2006, a collaborative stakeholder effort was launched that today is making significant progress in addressing these water quality issues.
This effort is called CV Salts, Central Valley Salinity Alternatives for Long-Term Sustainability.
The CV Salts mission to develop and implement Central Valley-wide salt and nitrate management plans. Working around the table in this collaborative effort since 2006, and to this day, are leaders from agriculture, municipalities, industry, water supply, environmental justice communities, state and federal regulatory agencies, and the public.
CV Salts is a stakeholder-led effort. The Water Board didn't just come in and say it has to be a certain way or it has to be done in one way or another, but the stakeholders, the leaders in industry, the leaders in environmental justice, the different stakeholder groups throughout the valley came together and really built the program to address the needs of the valley.
A major milestone was reached in 2018 that addresses the salt and nitrate issues. That's when the Central Valley Water Board adopted a regulatory framework that put into law substantial requirements for entities that discharge salt and nitrate.
The nitrate requirements encompass 3 main goals. Reduce nitrate loading so that ongoing discharges from all controllable sources neither threaten to degrade high-quality waters nor cause or contribute to exceedances of water quality objectives. Ensure that groundwater users whose wells are impacted with nitrate are provided safe drinking water. Implement long-term managed restoration of impaired water bodies.
The goals of the program are broad. What we want to do is reduce the discharges and the sources of salt and nitrate that are in the valley to try and essentially ensure that our waters eventually will meet water quality standards and they're not causing and contributing to problems in the valley. That's the long-term goal. The long-term goal is to meet those objectives.
The highest priority of the program for CV Salts was the nitrate control program launched in 2020.
So CV Salts started looking at holistically at salts, but over time we realized that nitrates were a pressing issue. Nitrates, being a particular type of salt, have a certain health impact that we needed to address right away. So moving nitrates to the front of the consideration and making it an important part of the overall CV Salts was key to addressing the pressing concerns of nitrates and their health impacts.
For the highest impacted areas, the program is operated by 6 regional management zones, each encompassing a major Central Valley groundwater aquifer with nitrate contamination. A limited number of nitrate dischargers are opting to address their localized impacts through an alternative regulatory option.
Following the CV Salts model, the management zone organizations are collaborative efforts between agriculture, cities, food processors, and local entities.
In each of the 6 management zones, the regulated community formed nonprofit entities to raise funds and develop and implement plans required in the nitrate control program.
The management zones are a really unique concept. I think it's important to understand that in the years it took to develop them, there was a realization that this wasn't a solution that individuals could do. It's going to take a group effort to address nitrates and salt in the valley. And the management zone concept brings together all of those that have a role in that and puts an impetus on attacking it as a whole rather than individually, which would be really impossible to do in this scenario.
The organizations are virtually identical in function. They offer free well testing to residences who rely on private wells, and if problems are found, safe drinking water is provided free of charge to the occupants of those residences.
Since the Water Board approved the first management zone plans in May of 2021, more than 1,700 private wells have been tested for nitrate in the Central Valley.
A parallel domestic well effort under the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program tested 7,000 domestic wells, giving the Water Board a better understanding of nitrate impacts to private drinking water wells in heavily impacted areas. By May 2023, the Management Zone program found that more than 1,000 wells have nitrate contamination.
Residents were supplied with drinking water delivered to their homes free of charge.
Some management zones also constructed water fill stations in areas where nitrate contamination was known to exist. Others are in the planning stage for doing the same.
People may ask, why bottled water first? Well, it's definitely an interim fast solution to really help address an acute health issue. Nitrates can be very dangerous right off the bat, and so having a bottled water program helps alleviate that immediately while we work on longer-term solutions to bring back the groundwater quality.
The 6 management zones currently operating in the Central Valley use multiple communication strategies to publicize their programs and seek applicants. Social media, mailers, posting flyers in local businesses, and having displays at local events such as farmers markets, county fairs, and other public activities.
When someone signs up, management zones first check their address to confirm that the residence is not connected to a public water system that is already delivering safe water.
Once verified, the resident's contact information is sent to a local certified laboratory who then samples water from their well. The sample is then analyzed for nitrate, and if it exceeds state drinking water standards, the occupants are immediately notified. Management zone staff then arrange for free bottled water delivery by a commercial provider, typically in 5-gallon containers in monthly volumes appropriate for the household size of the residents.
As of May 2023, more than 150,000 gallons of clean drinking water have been delivered to residents of the Central Valley free of charge, a challenge that has become apparent in the 2 years since the program was launched. People are skeptical about any program that offers anything for free.
Still, word of mouth from neighbors and friends is proving to be one of the best ways to attract applicants. Expectations are that as the program matures, that skepticism will diminish.
Your little water system of your private domestic well serves your family's home use, your cooking, your bathing. Knowing the quality of that water is just as important for that individual as it is a city-run municipal water system. So management zones may have started as a concept in a room, but they're now real, and they need participation from the community to succeed.
With management zone entities now in operation for 2 years, long-term planning has begun. Each management zone is developing plans that outline localized, long-term solutions for the identified problem wells and neighborhoods.
The management zone implementation plans will involve local communities who have impacted wells. The management zones will work on drafts. There'll be public drafts of those plans that will be tailored and consider all of the impacts to local communities and what their needs are with respect to drinking water and sources of drinking water.
These long-term solutions could include consolidation with municipal drinking water utilities, in-home treatment systems, and novel water production systems currently being pilot tested.
Make no mistake, these long-term solutions will be expensive.
Connecting widely dispersed rural residences to existing drinking water systems will require expensive new infrastructure projects, and many of these rural residences have household incomes far below the national and statewide averages.
Still, planning has begun.
These plans have built-in milestones mandated by the regulations and will also involve local community groups and organizations as they are developed and implemented. Planning is also underway to address the accumulation of salts in the Central Valley.
A major route for salt transport is water pumped in from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta into canals that carry irrigation water to millions of acres of cropland.
The University of California estimates that salt volumes imported to the San Joaquin Valley are equivalent to 40 train cars of salt per day. As recently as 2020, salt accumulation had resulted in 250,000 acres of cropland being taken out of production.
Another 1.5 million acres of cropland is salinity impaired. If salt remains unmanaged, direct economic impacts to the Central Valley could exceed $1.2 billion and $2.2 billion annually by 2030.
Those economic impacts result from reduced crop yield due to plant stress, or limiting crops such as fruits and vegetables from even being planted on salt-impacted farmland.
Because salts affect such a vast area of the Central Valley, the Water Board and stakeholders will first focus resources and efforts on those areas where the problems are most severe. This CV Salts initiative is called the Prioritization and Optimization Study that is now underway on a 10-year time schedule.
CV Salts, the industry stakeholders in CV Salts, and the program as a whole is tasked with doing this study. And industry is essentially tasked with financing this study over 10 years, roughly a $10 million study that will, again, basically look at salt movement in the valley, figure out where it's concentrating, where problems are, and try to implement and develop solutions that can be implemented to manage salt sustainably so that long time into the future we can have a thriving agricultural industry, we can have thriving drinking water sources.
As the initiative name implies, the areas already identified with salt problems need to be prioritized so any efforts undertaken can have the most beneficial impact.
The P&O study is going to be a valley-wide study that looks at salt movement throughout the whole Central Valley, looks at the different sources throughout the whole Central Valley, takes that information and really needs to come up with a plan, potential projects, and potential ways to manage salt sustainably in the Central Valley. Salt in the Central Valley currently is not managed sustainably.
And because there are limited resources available to pay for what are expected to be expensive solutions, projects need to be identified that will optimize use of any funds directed to the initiative. Now, 17 years since its inception, CV Salts has shown that a collaborative stakeholder process can produce viable plans and solutions to the salt and nitrate problems in the Central Valley.
Creating long-term solutions, be it for nitrate or salts, pose huge challenges in gaining local buy-in and designing and building infrastructure for local solutions. Still, those involved with CV Salts are addressing these challenges head-on. Driving their determination is knowing that their efforts can help ensure the Central Valley continues as a home for people and the food basket of the nation.